All right, let's continue with our Patchbay. Last time we mostly finished off the input section, but there were several patches that I did not yet talk about, and that was input to mix 1 and mix 2, the input to VC mix, which was our main active knob last time, and the multiple. So let's talk about those before we get to outputs. For mix 1 and mix 2, as I mentioned, we could use that very similarly to how we use oscillator mix. We could send the output of oscillator pulse to mix 1. We could send the output of oscillator saw to mix 2. And then I could take, now those are both going into the VC mix, so I need to take the output of the VC mix and let's send that to external audio. Now I'm going to turn my oscillator mix fully to external audio. So when I press a key, I'm going to be hearing external audio. I'm going to set my VCX mix to the left. Now, because there's something in 1 and in 2, this is not a 0 to 5. Now it is a whatever this signal is to whatever this signal is. I'm just going to open up my VCA. Now I'm hearing the square wave, which is the one going into the left. Let's tell that because I can adjust its pulse width. And as I turn this to the right, we're hearing our saw wave. Pulse width does nothing to a saw wave. So this is a way that you can mix two signals. Now, they do not have to be audio signals. So mix 1, instead of sending it, I'm just going to remove these so it's easier to see each time what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the output of LFO triangle wave and send that to mix 1. And I'm going to take the output of the LFO square wave and send that to mix 2. So now I have two LFO shapes in my mix knob. And I'm going to take the output of the mix knob and I'm going to send that to the resonance, something that is not internally, or not patched internally. Turn our resonance up to about here, just so we can hear an effect that's having. Oops. That was external noise. As I do that little filter sweep, you can hear that happening. Now, if I go fully to the left, my resonance is being modulated by the triangle wave, which is moving pretty slowly. You can hear it going up and down. As I turn to the right, we're going to hear it become a square wave LFO, which is just an on-off sort of sound. Now, I can add some VCF mod to this. Now my VCF is being controlled by the triangle wave. Is going to cut off it's going to operate the cutoff knob now. So now I'm going to have a mixture of operating the resonance knob with two different shapes while the cutoff is also moving. Slow it down. So there you can see the effect of just making some minimal patching. You suddenly have a lot of variety that you can create in your sound. And I did not even mess with where my cutoff knob was working or where my resonance knob was starting from being modulated from. All right. Let's reset our synth here. All right, now I have been turning this knob by hand, but we can also use control voltage for that using the VC Mix in port. So I'm going to reset pretty much my last patch exactly. LFO triangle to mix 1, LFO square to mix 2. I'm still going to send the output of VC Mix to the resonance. But now, instead of controlling this by hand, I'm going to let the output of the keyboard voltage control VC Mix. So when I play a low note, I'll get a low voltage, and that's going to be giving me this side. And then if I play a higher note, I'll be getting this side where it's a square. So triangle on this side, square on this side, low voltage, low notes, high notes. So I've got a second octave selected here. So you can hear our resonance is moving up and down in a triangle shape. If I go up an octave, we'll start to hear the square sound coming in. We start to hear that on and off. Now, let's go back to our low note. I'm going to turn up the glide all the way. Now, I'm going to go up to 7. Oops, I got to hold it. Now I'm getting the square one. Now I let go. So it's kind of nifty that you can get those two different effects using the glide knob and the VC Mix with the keyboard CV controlling where this knob is pointing. All right, let's clear out this patch. Of course, you could control the VC Mix with your envelope generator or any of the other output signals you have here. Okay, let's talk about multiple now. What this does is it allows you to take one of your output signals, for which you only have one. You know, there's only one output for the LFO triangle. But if I put it into the multiple, that will be copied into these two multiple spots. So I could take my LFO square, put it there, and then I would have two copies of my LFO square I could send other places. So let's try something. Let's take the output of our envelope and send it to the multiple. I'm going to use my multiple to send the envelope places that it does not go inside. I'm going to send it to the resonance. And I'm going to send it to oscillator FM. So now using the multiple, I have two copies of my envelope, one going to oscillator FM, one going to the resonance. Set this glide back down to 0. Let's set my attack to about here, decay to about here so we can hear it, sustain to about here and make sure that it's turned on. Now first I'm going to turn this resonance just down so we can just hear the effect of our envelope on the oscillator FM. Oh, that's a pretty high note. So if you remember, our oscillator FM reacts to changes in voltage. So when I press a key, it goes up and it drops, then it sustains, and when I let go, it drops again. So we should expect oscillator FM pitch to go up, down, stay, and go down again. So we should hear wah, which is what we hear. Now I'm going to add in some resonance effect to this. So that's how you use your multiple. It just allows you to send an extra copy of something somewhere else. All right, let's reset again. Now, I want to take the output of my LFO triangle wave and send it to oscillator FM. And we know what this does. Anytime this receives a change in pitch, a change in voltage, the pitch will change. So I'm just going to turn that on. And it's changing at the rate that our LFO is changing. But the only thing I control here is the speed of the LFO. The actual amount that the LFO changes oscillator FM cannot be changed right now. This comes yet another fantastic usage of our VC mix knob as an attenuator. If I take the output of my LFO triangle and send it to just the right side of VC mix, now the left side of VC mix is nothing, but the right side of VC mix is my LFO triangle wave. So let's take the output of VC mix and send that into oscillator FM. Now, with this turned all the way to the left, I should hear nothing. And I hear nothing happening in oscillator FM. But as I increase this, the effect of the LFO triangle wave increases. And I also have control over its rate. Over here, very small change, because this is attenuating the amount of -5 to +5 that this is sending to oscillator FM. So it's like you have yet another OS mod or VCF mod knob, but with whatever you want to attenuate. Just put it into mix 2. Max effect, no effect. Minimal effect, but I can still change the rate. So this is very useful, especially if I were to take LFO triangle and send it to oscillator CV. This -5 to +5 is going to give us a 10 octave range on our oscillator. Well, that's great, but we can't control how much it's changing it. But if I instead send that triangle to mix 2, take the output of VC mix and send that to the oscillator CV, now I can control how many of those 10 volts are getting sent and how fast they're being sent. So, once again, the VC mix knob, so powerful. All right. Now, without explicitly saying it, we have been working our way through the output section. We've already taken care of two multiples. Oscillator pulse and oscillator saw, we've seen these are just sending output waves. Envelope, we use that to control the VC mix. Noise. Now, noise is an audio signal, so I could just, send noise to external audio. Pointless, because noise is already set to the external audio default. But what I can do is I can use noise as yet another modulation source. So I'm going to set my noise to go into VC Mix 2, and then the output of VC Mix into oscillator FM. Now, this noise is going to be modulating the pitch. As I let more noise in, start to get a really distorted sound. Sent it to oscillator CV. Much more pronounced effect because oscillator CV has an exponential change attached to voltage input. So you can hear the pitch go up, and it just kind of turns into this shout. And I don't have to control that using VC Mix. Let's control it using an envelope. You get a little punch to the beginning of any pitch you play. Alright, so there's our noise output. VCA line, of course, we've seen many times. This is just sending the output to my mixer. Phones. This will send to your headphones. The difference here is that this will send to the center of your headphones, so you'll hear it in both ears. VCA line is just a mono, so if you plug headphones into that, you'll just hear it coming out of your left ear pad. Bottom line here, LFO triangle we've seen, LFO square we've seen. It's just the output of the LFO, whichever shape here. VC mix we've used multiple times. Assign, this is one that we're going to save for another video because it involves going into some kind of internal settings and controlling how this thing can send MIDI information, along with some things that you can set in the sequencer, like accent. Keyboard CV, I believe we've covered this. Yes, one thing I did mention in the last one is that we can use keyboard CV to affect the LFO rate. So if I play a low note, I have a low LFO rate. But as I go up, that goes faster. Now, of course, you're not hearing anything because I'm not allowing it to do anything. Oops. Let's try that again. So we were able to do it visually. Now we get to do it audibly too. And of course I can do that old glide trick too. Maybe not so dramatic. This is something that you can hear. Even over the course of an octave, you can hear it change. So that's using keyboard CD out. Next we have our gate out. Now, gate is an on-off sort of signal. Whenever a pitch is activated, the gate is open. Well, let's turn all that stuff off. So whenever a pitch is activated, the gate is open. Now the gate is closed. Now I can create this with my sequencer. So let's create another thrilling sequence. We'll do minor this time. Harmonic minor. Oh, there's that swing again. Now I'm going to set the output of my gate to my VCF cutoff. Every time the gate is open, you're hearing voltage added to the cutoff knob. But you're really not hearing anything else, because when the gate is off, there's no sound coming through. But if I turn my VCA on, now you will hear the difference. When the gate is open, when the light is on, you hear the cutoff being opened up all the way. And when the gate is off, you hear the cutoff drop back down to here, and we get the muted sound. So that's the effect of gate. Now I can change my gate length per pitch here. That's a sequencer trick. But this is another way to get kind of an interesting octave bass line happening. It's not even octaves. It's unison pitches, but you change the character of every half note, half beat. And I can put that swing back in. So there's gate. And then finally, we have the output of VCF. Now this is an audio signal before the envelope. So if we go back to video 6.5, where I showed you the internal routing of the instrument, it went from the oscillator section to the cutoff section. From there it goes to the amplitude envelope. So if we just take the output of the VCF, we don't get any envelope. To show you that, I'm just going to come out of the VCA here and turn down the volume quick so we don't hear any pop. Okay, we're back. I'm going to plug it into VCF. Now it's just sounding. So it's just like if I had turned on VCA mode. I'm just coming straight out of the filter. That's a really useful patch on the Behringer Neutron because it has the overdrive internally connected. So in the Neutron, if you patch directly from your VCF to your envelope, you can skip that overdrive section. That's like the first and most useful patch on the Neutron. All right, there is our output section. There is our patch bay. So now when you go to those videos where somebody's like, 7 cool patches for your Behringer Crave, you don't have to be like, oh, but why does he never talk about that particular patch point? You know how every single one of them works now. Except, of course, for a sine. Because I've got to save that one for another video. All right, I hope you found this useful. I know I have learned a lot about this instrument from preparing these videos for you. See you next time.